My father officially proved last week he is a mean, mean man. And so this week we have somebody on the show that is going to try and convince me that pickleball is actually a real sport. We got to see the new kickoff rules at the Hall of Fame game this past week, and let me say it was a little underwhelming. And Mike Trout is officially out for the rest of this season. Is he the athlete that wasted his career the most on a bad team? That and more coming up on Sports Talk with Dad right now. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. As always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who is so old, he actually thinks pickleball is a real sport. My dad, Tim.
Do not think pickleball's a real sport.
Well, we have a guest coming up right now who is going to try and convince us otherwise. Please help us welcome a man who created a company just a year and a half ago, and it has become one of the most popular pickleball paddle brands in the entire country. Owner and operator of Dink Ninjas, Joel Maurer. Joel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, guys. I am excited and honored to be a guest on your show here.
Okay, I have to start off by apologizing a little bit for last week. I know last week I kind of went off, but I was caught by surprise. I didn't know he was going to do that. This is an outstanding racket, I have to say, for the quality and everything you have. I think you're going to have a hard time convincing me to play pickleball still. My dad's old, right? He's fallen apart. He needs a different sport. I'm still a young man. Tell me, why is pickleball the way to go? Why should I even have this conversation about playing?
Well, just from what you just said there, I think it's a fantastic opportunity to be able to be competitive alongside your dad and create some common ground, some camaraderie there, and get that competitive mindset and those competitive juices flowing in a new sporting venture between you and your dad.
Oh, he has two good answers.
He does.
I don't know if I like this. I think this tide is turning on me. So how did you get into this? Because Dink Ninjas is everywhere now. You guys are sponsoring tournaments all over Central Texas and continuing to grow the brand to more sponsorships that are out there. How did you start? Where did this come from?
So I actually got introduced to the game of pickleball by a guy named Brandon Insickpong. Super guy, great family guy, and a really high level professional player in the sport of pickleball. He and his family were over one night with the kiddos, and he asked me a question. He said, "Hey, have you started playing pickleball yet?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, what's your excuse?" So I said, "Well, I don't really have one." So what's the deal here? So he takes me out to the back of his car, and he's basically a dealer of pickleball paddles. He's got pickleball paddles coming out his ears. Everybody that's making them, all these big brands, are sending them to him, trying to get him to review them, check the quality, the playability, all that kind of stuff, and then ultimately try and get an endorsement deal with him. So he grabbed a paddle and he said, "Hey, try this one out." I went to some local courts, just showed up for some open play, and just was hooked the moment I got on the court. The way they do it in that venue is they paddle stack. So you stack four paddles together, and then the next open court, you jump on with whoever you stacked with. So the person I stacked with, unknown to me, unbeknownst to me, was about a 75, 80-year-old gal. And she said, "Hey, how do you like to play?" I said, "Well, this is my first time." So you tell me. Got out on the court with her. She's basically a total assassin, just places the ball exactly where she wants it every time. Super deceptive player. And I had the most joyous experience I could have playing a new sport and being introduced to a new sport. And since then, I was hooked.
Okay. So I've taught tennis professionally for years and played 6, 7 days a week for a while. What's the biggest difference? And give us a brief rundown on the rules of pickleball for those who don't know the game at all.
So it's basically like ping pong, but you're standing on the table on this one. So similar to a lot of these different paddle or racket sports. You play games to 11. Typically, is the most common way to play. You have to win by two, and everything is just scored by 1 point. So you can only score on your serve. And then you're typically playing most recreational and amateur level stuff is played doubles. Pretty rare to see singles played in the recreational or amateur side of things, unless you're in a tournament or something like that or out having fun. Um, so each side, each person gets to serve once the game is going, and then obviously you're going to side out like you would in tennis or volleyball, some of these other sports like that. But pretty easy to get the hang of. One of the sayings that you hear a lot is it's easy to play, but really difficult to master. So everybody can get out on the court right away and have a ton of fun. Honestly, there's a lot of people who learn the sport on YouTube, which is typical of how people learn things nowadays, which makes the sport super accessible. Everybody's got a pretty good idea of how to play and how to score and all that when they get to the local courts or the gyms or different spots where
Yeah,
they're
well,
going to play nowadays.
I won't be one of those people. What's a little, they call it, what is that? The kitchen area?
Yes. Yep. So basically, what the typical play of the game is, I'll serve, and obviously I'm serving diagonally like I would in tennis. Um, my serve has to stay out of the kitchen in pickleball. It has to go diagonally like that to my diagonal opponent over there, and then they're going to serve it, or they're going to return it back to me, I should say. Their goal is to return it as deep as they can to try and keep me back on the baseline. What my idea is, as the server, is the third shot in that volley, I'm going to do a third shot drop. So I'm going to drop it right over the net into that kitchen. The person that's opposing me cannot touch the ball or hit the ball until it lands in the kitchen there. Then they can hit the ball back. They cannot step in the kitchen. It'd be a foot fault if they step in there before the ball bounces. So, a little bit of a technicality there as far as
A
the kitchen
little?
area there, but
Okay, so you said something that was really strange to me because in tennis, most recreational players play singles,
Yeah.
but this is mainly doubles. Why is that?
I think that the sport, when it's played in a doubles format, I think it's a lot more conducive to involvement by more players at a time. And it's also the benefit of playing doubles is you're going to show up to a court, you're going to get introduced to three other people typically if you're just a single player learning the sport. And so it's really conducive to new relationship opportunities, whether it's a business relationship, a personal relationship, or just fun community involvement. So it's a lot of involvement in the doubles that you wouldn't typically have in a singles format.
Dad, this sounds like it's perfect for you. All he's proving to me is that this is an old person sport. So you
No,
fit right in.
you will fit right in as well.
So
You
tell me, because I get creative. So when I play tennis, I was a big spin guy, right? I like to get spin
Yep.
on the ball. That's the only way I could win. I wasn't the most powerful player out there. I had to get creative. So tell me, how do I get spin on a pickleball?
It's going to be played almost exactly like tennis. The paddle that I have here that I sent y'all, it's
Yeah.
got a what's called a raw carbon face, so it's a
Okay.
carbon fiber face, so it's got some good grit to it. So you slice at that, you're going to get some crazy spin off of that, and the ball, the configuration, the ball that I sent y'all is an outdoor ball,
Yeah.
so it's got more holes. Um, and they're smaller in diameter. So it's going to be a little more tolerant to wind and all that if you're playing outside. An indoor ball is going to be a little different story. It's going to have fewer holes, but larger diameter holes. So it's going to be a lot less tolerant to wind. But as that ball breaks in a little bit off of the surface of the Acrotech is what a lot of these guys are putting down on these courts, similar to a tennis court format. And a lot of them are a tennis court. They're just restriped in a lot of
Right.
cases. But as that ball wears in a little bit, it's going to have a little bit of grit to it as well as that surface breaks down a little bit. But in combination with the breaking in of the ball and that carbon fiber face on the paddle, you're going to get some crazy spin and end up breaking people's ankles
Now you're
here or
talking
there.
my game. All right. Now I might be in here. So how does this, because I've my dad and I were talking about this. I've seen people have tried to get me to play this sport before, right? And I've seen other rackets and they don't feel like this. So what makes Dink Ninja rackets different than the other rackets you see at Walmart or any place else?
So the way I designed this paddle is it's kind of a hybrid paddle where it's really conducive to for folks like y'all coming from tennis. It's got a longer grip on it. So I put a 5.5 inch grip on there. I like to play with a little longer handle. Some of these paddles out there you see it'll be a 4 inch grip or a 4.5 inch grip. I feel like the longer grip on it gives you a little more diversity in your shot selection, how you hold the paddle, and then also a lot of people that are coming from other sports, if you're going to go for a backhand, they're going to do a two-e or a two-handed backhand, and that gives the 5.5 inch grip gives you a lot of room to get your other hand on there and really rip a passing shot down the baseline.
Yeah, this honestly, it's a little bit shorter still, right? Because it's a different type of racket, but this
Yep.
feels a lot like a tennis grip. This is really comfortable in my hand. Like you could get a good semi-western grip on here and be ready to rock and roll. So I mean, this is awesome. When it came with a leather grip and he handed this to me, even though I was surprised last week and not totally thrilled with the situation, I was like, this actually feels great.
It's got a great hand feel to it, and another characteristic that I wanted to build into the paddle, the way it was specced out. It's got a honeycomb core on it that a lot of these different paddles have. What I did is the pore of the honeycomb, if you will, um, is a little bit bigger diameter than a lot of these common paddles. So it's got a little more of a touch or feel to it. So gives you a lot of control and placement of the ball. And then it'll also give you a lot of power if you want to rip one down the line if you feel like you are ready for that.
So do these paddles have a sweet spot like a tennis racket?
They do. They do. And some of these paddles that are a little more difficult to play with, the sweet spot is pretty small, and that's where it's going to gain a lot of power. Mine, I tried to formulate it to where I have a big sweet spot on it. So, learning the game and picking up the game and sharpening your skills, it's got a pretty good sweet spot on it to where you're not going to get any of these crazy errant shots with it so much.
Okay, so I serve and volleyed when I played tennis. Obviously, I can't arch my back anymore, but that's not something I need to worry about ever playing pickleball, correct? It's an underhand serve.
Yep, yep. The only time you're ever going to get any craziness like that is typically if you're trying to hit an overhead shot, you can get over like that. But most of the time, that's not going to be something that's going to be real common in the rec type game.
All right, I got a question on pickleball, and then I want to ask you what got you into making rackets because it's amazing the quality of this. And I don't even play pickleball; it just feels like a tennis racket and gets me really excited. Now, I on the other hand, I played a lot of doubles. That was my game. I played doubles with my brother in high school and played doubles tournaments with my dad a lot as I got older. I live at the net. That was my bread and butter. This old man over here used to take a ball machine, turn it up to 100 miles per hour, and just fire balls at my face. So when it comes to pickleball, yeah, you laugh. You be on the other side of those balls. It wasn't as fun, but I learned how to my reflexes got real good
Yes,
real
they
quick.
did.
How much of the net game is part of pickleball, or are you really standing back? Like you have to let the ball
No.
bounce or
So the goal of a lot of these players is to get to the net as quick as possible.
Right.
With the game of pickleball, so like I was saying before, when I got probably overly technical, I serve the ball, they return it as deep as they can, and then somebody's going to do a drop shot where they're going to drop it right into the kitchen.
Mm,
Then you're kind of rushing up to the kitchen line. From there, that's my favorite part of the game. One of the reasons why Dink Ninjas is the name of the game is dinking the dink shot there. And so there's so much to be done at the net where there's a lot of deception involved. You're trying to deceive your opponents, and you're trying to basically dink shot to them to where they end up popping it up, where their return is a little too high, and then typically your teammate on the court there, your doubles partner is going to slap that right down the middle or down the baseline, whatever they can get out of there. But that's one of the fun things about it to me is how much deception there is involved right at the net there.
Okay, so help me out here. So you hit the serve. I mean, when I served and volleyed, my goal was to get to the service line, basically your baseline, before the ball got to the other side or before they could return it, and I'd set up for my first volley. Can you get all the way to the kitchen line and just hit it out of the air, or what am I going to be experiencing when I'm out there?
So with the game of pickleball, the court is actually quite small. So you're looking at a 22 by 40 court. So it's pretty darn small compared to a tennis court. So a lot less ground to cover there. And especially if you're playing doubles, there's a lot less ground to cover because you're partnered up with somebody there. But the game of singles to me is a lot more similar to tennis, in the fact that there's a lot more power involved. There's a lot more power shots involved, and it keeps everybody back from the kitchen line a lot more in singles.
Okay.
So this is shorter than a service line to the net then in reality. Like, because I think of the service line, you got to hit it in there for the serve. This is actually shorter than that.
Yes, and so what you're
Nice.
looking at is the from the net, the kitchen line is 6 feet back from the net, so that shrinks it a lot.
Yeah, it
And
does.
so you've got a big kitchen area there to play with as well. So not a whole lot of volley zone area there to mess around with.
Now, do you have to hit it in the kitchen? Like after you hit the serve, after the drop shot in the back, you don't have to.
No, no, you can play as much back there at the baseline as you want to.
All right. All I hear is a sport that I'm finally going to be able to beat my father at, which I'm really
Yeah,
excited
you
about.
never beat me playing tennis. Why would you think you're
Because
going to
you
beat me
quit.
playing this?
Because
I,
you quit.
I was hit by a drunk driver. I had to quit.
Excuses. Excuses. Yeah, I finally get to the point where I start destroying him. And
never
granted, it's because of his age. I'm not going to lie. He slowed down. And then he just quits. He's like, I was in a car accident and can't play anymore. And it's just excuses. I'm sick of it.
All right, let me ask you this because I'm just ignoring him right now. Tennis rackets, I had to get restrung. Good players get them restrung every 10 games or whatever they were. This has got a kind of a scratchy feel to it, a texture to it. How long would a typical racket last or paddle last?
So I've been playing with one just kind of just to test the longevity of it. I've been playing with one for close to a year, probably
Hmm.
Wow.
8 or 9 months now. It's still got the same grit to it, um, and there's not a whole lot of wear and tear on it if you're not beating it up. If you're playing normal pickleball, and you're not scraping it on the court going for crazy shots or anything like that, they tend to hold up really well. Um, there are some paddles, and you'll hear a lot of these kind of conspiracy theories, if you will, in the pro level of, oh, they're playing with a delaminated paddle, oh, this, that, and the other thing, all these different things going on. But to be honest with you, I haven't experienced any delamination at all with my paddle design yet at all.
What does that mean? What does delaminated paddle mean?
So delaminated would mean that so you've got a honeycomb core and the carbon fiber is attached to the honeycomb core. So a delaminated paddle would be that the carbon fiber is actually delaminating from that honeycomb core, and it's giving it a much different spring rate, if you will, off of that paddle
Uh,
face.
How about the balls? How long are they due to hold up?
Uh, that's still up for debate, depending on a lot of these different balls, and then also the atmospheric conditions, the weather that you're playing in. If you're playing in really cold weather, you'll tend to crack balls on a somewhat regular basis. There's been a lot of new developments in the ball construction, and so there's a lot of them that are guaranteeing these crazy time tables for their balls to hold up. And then they have these wild guarantees where you have to crack 4 of them before you return them and get free ones replaced, all this kind of crazy stuff. But the balls typically hold up really well. Some of the balls that you'll get out there off the shelf, they've got a little bit shorter lifespan. If you're playing in real hot weather, they'll kind of warp a little bit, get out of round. But they tend to hold up actually pretty well overall.
Well, this game, in watching the little bit I've seen on TV and whatever, it's like the volley part of tennis. And I've said for a long time that tennis destroyed itself because technology took over, and you've got guys like Djokovic and Nadal and Andy Roddick, especially back in the day, who could hit a serve 150 miles an hour. It's a game I could never play. I could never get to the net fast enough. You're always at the baseline. This looks like it's going to take over because you're playing at the net, and there's actually just more action than there is in tennis.
There is, and there's a lot of there's a big draw in the audience of it just in the last couple years since it's gained so much popularity, and you can see the entertainment value of before it was televised. You know, you'll go to a tournament if you're lucky to have one come into your town or travel to one, but you're not really getting to know the personalities behind the game. A lot of these players, now that they're on TV, you get a good sense of the banter going back and forth. There's some trash talking going back and forth. There's some fun camaraderie going back and forth, and people on a much broader audience are able to get and kind of glean the personalities and pick somebody they're going to root for from a fan standpoint.
There aren't any John McEnroes on the tour yet that are screaming at the umpires.
I'll be the first. I'll do it.
There's been a little bit of that. There was a large display screen that was behind the court that ended up getting compromised, if you will, by a paddle at one point.
Oh man,
There's a couple characters that have broken their paddles over their knees post match, but that's the fun is to me is the personalities getting involved and how much personality there is and how much fun there is out on the court. One personality that I'm a huge fan of so far, obviously he's just a little over a year into the sport, but Jack Sock is gone professional in pickleball, and obviously you guys are big tennis players
Former
and fans
tennis
of the
player.
game. He's got an insane record of doubles on the pro circuit and incredible amount of earnings from all the tournaments that he's won. And so the first interview that I saw of him once he declared that he was going pro in the pickleball scene was he said that this is his second career, and his main goal of playing pickleball professionally is to have as much fun as humanly possible playing a sport, and it really shows on the court. He's laughing, he's joking, he's having fun, he's got a little trash talk, a little banter going back and forth. So the personalities developing within the game as it gains popularity, I think, are going to be incredibly beneficial.
it doesn't help the case of me thinking this is an old man sport, by the way.
Yes.
But that's okay.
Yes,
So what's that?
Jack Stock, I think, is younger than you.
Yeah, but he's clearly too old to play tennis now. He quit tennis to go and play pickleball.
Keep trying, keep selling. Nobody's buying.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. He's convincing me too much that this is a sport I think I have to try, and I don't like it.
What I want to find out is when I played tennis and when I first started, and I'm going back to the Connors and the Vitas Gerolaitis and the Bjorn Borg days, tennis was a chess match.
Yeah.
You had to set up your opponent 3, 4, 5 moves in advance, move them around the court. Now it's just hit it as hard as you can and end point from the baseline whenever you can. Is pickleball, is it bringing some of that strategy back? Do you have to plan ahead for your next shots?
It is very much so. And the more the game advances and the more these really high level players start developing and getting into the game or crossing over from tennis or these other sports, um, there ends up being a tremendous amount of strategy involved. And there's a lot of planning and strategizing against your opponents and really trying to get them out of position. So one of the strategies that's typically in play is when they're playing doubles, you're dinking cross court and you're trying to get it basically as low as you possibly can and as parallel with the net as you possibly can. So you're going back and forth.
I hate to interrupt the story, but I got to make sure I understand. And I want to make sure people listening to this understand. Dinking, it's fun name. I like it. I'm not going to lie. But is that just like it's not bouncing and you're hitting it back and forth at the net?
No.
Is that what dinking is?
No, you're just hitting it softly and trying to put an angle on it. Same as
I'm gonna
tennis.
listen
Yeah.
to the
So
professional here, not an old man. All right.
you use that term very loosely. Obviously,
Very
you're
loosely.
dropping professional.
Hey, I'm giving you the credit. It's better than this guy who doesn't know
Appreciate
what he's
that.
talking about. So
Appreciate that.
so dinking, like I said, fun name. What is it?
So dinking is really just a soft shot, and you're typically right at the kitchen when you're making that shot, and you're typically the ball is bouncing on the opponent's side before they return it.
Okay.
Once you're there at the kitchen line, you can hit it out of the air, and that's a good way of deceiving your opponent. Um, Most all the dinking right at the kitchen is going to be an underhanded shot, whether it's forehand or backhand. But there's a lot of deception involved there, and you're really trying to pull your opponents apart to those outside lines. And then if they hit it up a little too high, you can poach it right out of the air and smack it down the middle.
Yeah,
I was
don't give me that look that you were right.
I
He
was
said it
close
better.
to being right. Yeah.
All right, so that's dinking. I got it. Sorry, you kept using that term, and I'm like, I don't know what this means, and I need to ask the question. But it's probably my new favorite term in sports now. Dinking. That's a fun one.
Well, my brand will fit right into your lane
I
then.
know. I know. I'm excited about this. I'm actually getting excited about this game now, and I don't like you for this, by the way. Like now I have to try. I'm out of town most of next week here, but when we get back, we're gonna have to. We did promise we would go out, we would film a session to see how it works. I'm still going in with hatred for the sport, but I think you're changing my mind a little bit here. So how did you get into? So you start this for a year because I love this story. You're clearly an amazing entrepreneur here. You start a couple years ago, and then you're like, you know what? These rackets are cool, but I can make the best rackets on the circuit. And then you just go and start making them. How does that transition happen?
So it really came about the how I came up with the brand. It really came from a bit of a hard circumstance. My wife was diagnosed with cancer, and being a father and a husband of two young kids, we
Yeah,
had a young boy and a young girl at the time, and kind of the diagnosis of my wife's cancer kind of got me into a bit of a rough headspace.
sure.
And I had experienced so many benefits, mental health and physical health benefits from the game of pickleball, that I decided that the best way to clear my head was to pour my entrepreneurial and kind of artistic energy into the game of pickleball. So I wasn't sleeping one night, and started the thought process of creating a brand. And so Dink Ninjas is the brand that I came up with. The brand name um, really came from, if you're playing pickleball against a ninja, they're going to be super
Yeah.
deceptive, really hard to win shots against, going to be really unpredictable. And so woke up the next morning and decided, hey, I'm going to see if I can put this brand on some hats to start with and start wearing the hats around. I didn't really see any brands out there at the time that I really wanted to invest in and really wanted to represent out there. So decided to start making hats and wearing them around. People started asking me about the hats, and so decided, hey, I'm going to need a way of selling these, a website, point of sale, all that kind of stuff. And word just kind of spread organically. So I started selling hats all over the place. And about 6 months into selling the hats, got approached by a paddle manufacturer and said, hey, if you ever want to design a paddle for yourself and put your brand on there, let us know the specs. We'd be happy to make you up some demos you can play with and see kind of where you want to go from there. Uh, Long story short, my wife had surgery to remove the cancer, and then had some cells recur that were cancerous. So she ended up having to take that little nuclear pill, the oral radiation.
Yeah.
Went through that, and since then we are incredibly blessed. She's on the path to a full recovery. All the hormones and
Awesome.
everything are
That's
getting back to
outstanding.
normal. Yeah, it's we've just been on such a journey, and we are extremely blessed with the outcome. She's happy and healthy, and great mom to the kiddos, great wife to me, and super supportive throughout this whole journey. And it's really me that was supposed to be supporting her, but she's such an incredibly strong woman and an amazing wife that she was a great source of strength for me throughout this whole process as well.
I got one of those wives too, and nothing beats them. That's for sure. They're amazing women. I'm happy to hear that. I was hoping that would be a happy ending to that story. I'm glad that it was. I'm glad she's doing well.
Yeah, couldn't be happier and more blessed with the outcome for sure.
Well, we have appreciated you coming on and trying to teach us some of the finer points of the game, even though I still remain a tennis snob for right now.
I'm with you, but we promised.
We're gonna go
you
out and
signed
play.
us up for this. Now we have to go and play.
Joel convinced me that he could come on and make this game sound fun, which he's done.
I don't have to admit anything. Okay.
Joel, where can people find you, and where can they go and get the rackets and the hats and everything else?
So you can visit our website at dinkninjas.com, and you can also pick us up and follow us on all the different social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, X, or Twitter, or whatever you want to call it nowadays. Any of the social media platforms, and you can also contact me directly through my website, or you can email me if you have a question, or if you want to be convinced that pickleball is a fantastic sport and you should be playing it. You can also just email me at joelsmaurer@dinkninjas.com.
All right. And for those who are on sportstalkwithdad.com or any of our social media, Facebook, Instagram, we've linked Dink Ninjas on there as well, so you can find them through our pages as well.
And we are going to have his website linked in the description of this video below. Joel, I'm not sure you convinced me yet, but you convinced me enough to get me on a pickleball court, and I look forward to reporting back to you how it goes.
Hey, keep me posted on your progression to the dark side of the moon over here, man.
I'm telling you, man, I hear Darth Vader calling. I really do. You did a good job. Thank you so much, Joel. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Joel.
You bet. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a ton of fun and an honor to be on your show.
So after all that, are you excited to go and play pickleball?
No. No.
Come on, he made it sound fun.
Yeah, he did. And I like him less because he made that sport sound fun. It's an old person game. I'm sorry. It's an old person game.
The one thing that really blew me away is we said in the interview, tennis is all about singles. Everybody goes on their local recreation courts and plays singles. Pickleball is all about doubles, which the court is already tiny.
Yes, because it's an old person game. And then you don't have to move.
Well, we're going to play singles.
We are gonna, I hate you for that. I don't like this. I don't like how you tricked me into this. I hate that I have to play this game. And I hate that I know I'm going to get competitive. Because it's you and it's me, and I'm going to get competitive, and then I'm not going to hit shots I want to hit, which is going to make me go back out there, and I'm going to become a pickleball player after this. And I hate you for this. And I don't use that word lightly. You are Darth Vader calling me to the dark side. So is Joel. And I hate you both for this.
Just remember, when I beat you, not if. When I beat you, I got hit by a drunk driver and had to have major back surgery.
Yeah.
And I still will beat you.
I hate you so much. I do have a question, by the way.
Yeah.
How long has this cup been down here?
Through lots of coffee, Coke, whatever else you've poured in there, you never washed the damn thing.
I took a couple sips while we were talking with Joel, and I'm like, why does this taste funky?
Because something's growing in it, I'm sure.
That was not a good flavor. I do not like.
I wash mine every week.
I thought you washed my cup as well.
I take mine up. So they can be washed when you're doing dishes. You never take it upstairs, and it's not my deal to do it.
That does not taste good, and I'm not happy I have this flavor in my mouth right now. We need to move on
quickly.
Did you watch the Hall of Fame game?
I did watch parts of it, yeah.
What did you think of the new kickoff rule?
I think it's going to take a while for people to adjust to it. I do think it's going to do what they want and reduce injuries because the guys just can't get going at full steam in the little territory they have.
That was something that was interesting, though, because either can the return man. And it seemed to just be a giant group of people together waiting for him.
I think the return men, though, have at least 10 to 15 yards to get up ahead of steam, and they're going to figure ways to bust through that line.
Well, I also don't think watching that game, it reminded me how bad the Hall of Fame game field is. Nobody was getting grips on the field at all. And if you watch the returners, how many times did they slip running? Yes. It's a bad field. And they need to do something about that because somebody is going to get hurt on that field.
Well, that's why they don't ever play their starters in the Hall of Fame game anymore. I've never.
No. But even the fourth, fifth stringers that are trying to make the team, like they're going to get hurt out there. I mean, that is ridiculous how bad that field is.
This is your big weekend. Guys are going into the Hall of Fame. Even guys I don't think should be going into the Hall of Fame, like Devin Hester.
Devin Hester is a first ballot Hall of Famer. It was proven he's a first. This isn't a Kurt Warner story here. This is a person who transcended football for an entire generation. Hall of Famer.
Uh-huh.
What did you say? He has to be the best at his position in football for at least 5 years, right? He was the best at that position for 5 years.
Okay, so
he was the most electric player of a generation.
You're right. He's like a kicker. He's like a punter. He's a specialist.
He was a specialist. We know he can't play wide receiver.
Yes, we do. He tried.
He definitely was a specialist, but do you think kickers shouldn't get in the Hall of Fame?
No, I think they should.
Well, then Devin Hester should be in the Hall of Fame. Do you think Ray Guy should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Absolutely.
Then Devin Hester is definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Well, obviously he is, so whatever my opinion is doesn't matter. He's already in.
It does ruin my opinion because obviously I think somebody is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. But Devin Hester is truly a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I was super excited to see him get the call. Now, I do have a question watching the Hall of Fame game because I started thinking. We had a conversation last week that the Packers are the most, since 2010, really since 2000, the Packers are the most dominant team in the NFC, if not the NFL.
Okay.
The Patriots definitely were the most dominant team in the NFL at that time. I look back at records.
2000s.
So I heard you New England fans. I get it. It's the Patriots. I switched to NFC. Most dominant team in the NFC. And so I started looking things up, and I wanted to see if you could guess of the best teams all time. So my question to you is, and I have a couple different ones. We're going to start with this. Which NFL team has the highest winning percentage in the history of the NFL?
Wow.
It's not wins. This is winning percentage.
No, I know. So we're going to take out teams like the Packers and the Bears.
No, this includes everybody.
I know it, but they've got so many games and they've had so many ups and downs over the years. I mean, if we were going in the Super Bowl era, I'd put the Packers probably at the top.
This is all time. Packers have been around since 1919, 1921, depending what you go by.
I'll just ask, are the Packers on the list?
They are number 2. They have been around since 1920 and have the
1919, actually.
1919. You're right. My apologies. But they have been around since 1919 and have the second highest winning percentage in the history of the NFL. I was shocked by that.
Blows me away. I said it as a joke. I didn't think they would be in the top 5.
They are number 2. Who's number 1?
God.
Because my thought process originally was 2. It has to be a newer team.
That's what I keep thinking. It's like a Miami or somebody.
Don't go there.
Okay. Then can't be the Bears.
The Bears are number 4 on the list. Don't forget, because I forget too, right? Because the Bears have been bad pretty much my entire life.
But they were good for a long time.
They were the best team in sports for a long time.
Giants are on that list too?
The Giants are... No.
Okay.
Oh, man. Where are the Giants on here?
No, never mind. The teams like the Redskins have been good more than they've been bad.
Washington is nowhere near the top of the list.
By the way, I shouldn't have said Washington football team.
Yeah. The Giants I found, they're outside the top 10.
Okay. I would say somebody like San Francisco.
San Francisco is 8th on the list, right?
Wow.
7th on the list. Sorry. I can't count. 7th on the list.
We know it's not the Jets.
It is not the Jets. No.
Am I going to kick myself for not knowing this?
I think so.
Okay, I'll take one more guess and then you can just...
Number 1 is not necessarily a newer team. Number 3 on the list is technically a newer team.
Technically. Okay.
I think I just gave that away. If that
No,
didn't
you
give away,
didn't. You didn't.
okay, then I can't help you.
Number one is an older team, right?
Older team, yes.
Cleveland.
No, come on.
Well, don't forget, they were great when they first came into the league. They got the
It is
championship.
not, they're middle of the pack.
All right. Then I have no clue. Go ahead.
Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, shit. I forgot about that.
Dallas Cowboys have it. Get this, though. Dallas Cowboys started in what,
1960.
1961? 1960? They have a 57.6 winning percentage. The Packers, who started in 1919, 57.2.
Wow.
It is 0.4 percentage points that separate those two teams.
So we could take over this year if they have a bad year.
Could, yeah, definitely
Not
could.
the Packers. Dallas has a
Right,
bad
Dallas has a bad year. But they've both been dominant teams.
year. They have.
For their entire franchise history.
And I should have known that. It never popped into my head, but I mean, you think about it. They were so good so quickly with
Yes.
Tom Landry. So close. Only 2 plays away, they would have been in the first 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Not the Packers.
Can you name number 3? So we have Dallas 1, Green Bay 2, Chicago 4. See if you can round out the top 5. Who's number 3?
Oh, God.
Don't forget my hint to you. They are technically a newer franchise.
Yeah, I don't know what. Pittsburgh?
Nope.
No, because they were so bad for so
Yeah,
long.
Pittsburgh's nowhere.
Yeah,
near
no,
the
they
top.
were awful for when they came into the
I think
league.
They're like 10th or 11th.
I got nothing. Go ahead.
The Baltimore Ravens. Technically a new team because they were the Browns
Right.
and moved, but the Browns got to keep the franchise.
Right.
So none of those years before counted
That's
for them, and the Ravens have been pretty
They've
good.
been very good.
Can you name this one? Can you name number 5? I didn't expect this one, but I can give you a hint if you'd like.
Please.
Think more recent team of dominance, a more recent era of dominance. They've been bad the last couple of years, but they were very dominant for a long period of time in the 2000s.
Well, New England.
Is the New England Patriots, 55.5. I didn't know that one when we were doing this, when I was talking to somebody else about this.
Well, they went to the Super Bowl once. Yeah, I mean,
In the 90s.
That's who the Bears played in 85.
Oh, that's right. They did play the Patriots in 85.
So they were good then, too.
Because I always thought, if you look back, the Patriots were kind of a laughingstock of the NFL for a while there. They were a really bad
They
team.
were really bad in the 60s and 70s when they came around.
But because they're a newer team, their 30 years of dominance with Tom Brady
Sure.
has really, and Drew Bledsoe as well, has really offset those bad seasons.
They had one of my favorite players when I was a kid, a guy named Russ Francis, who was a tight end. He looked like Tom Selleck from Magnum PI. He's just had that mustache, that look, but he was a great tight end. He was fun to watch.
Blast from the past there. I don't even know who you're talking about.
Tight end, nobody. Well, some of the older viewers may, along with me. Russ Francis was great.
They
Make
probably
sure-
think pickleball is a sport too, so I don't know if their opinions
Stop
count.
it. We're not going back to pickleball.
So from the top, and then I'm going to go on to wins here, but it's Dallas Cowboys, Green Bay Packers, Ravens, Bears, Patriots, then Dolphins at number 6, Niners at number 7, Chiefs at number 8, Vikings at number 9, and the Steelers at 10 to round up the top 10 winning percentage. Can you name who the worst winning percentages are? Just do the bottom 2. Can you name the bottom 2?
The worst.
The worst winning percentages.
Jets.
No.
Okay.
Jets are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 worst.
Okay. Carolina.
Carolina.
They're bad now. They had some good years.
No, they are 9th worst.
And I don't think the Saints, because they've been good recently.
Not the Saints.
Not the Bengals.
Both older franchises.
Both older than.
Yes.
That's-
One a very old franchise. One
Oh, the Lions.
kind of old franchise. Nope, the Lions have a better winning percentage than the Jets.
Wow.
Don't forget, Lions were good for a while there. And
yeah,
have
in
been
the
mediocre
50s,
for a while.
And then 50s, and they've been in.
They have a losing record. They're 45.5%. But
Ooh.
this team has a 40.6 winning percentage.
People are laughing at me, going, "You gotta know this!" They're screaming. I know they're screaming the answer at me. Oh, the Cardinals.
The Cardinals are the 2nd worst, which is crazy because they're the oldest team in the NFL at a 42.2 win percentage. There's a team worse, and you know this.
do.
It's getting tricky because recently they've been pretty good, and recently they've won a Super Bowl, and they've won 2 Super Bowls in their franchise.
Tampa?
Is Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay
Wow,
is
yeah.
the worst winning percentage.
Yeah, because they lost for 2 years straight when they came into the
They
league.
did, and they've been a bad team for a very long time.
And may they remain a bad team forever.
Yes.
I may have lived there, but I have never liked the
And
Buccaneers.
then Jacksonville Jaguars, Houston Texans round out the bottom there. Atlanta Falcons are in there as well. And those are all newer teams.
Yeah.
All right. Can you tell me? I know you can tell me number 1, but I want to see if you can do top 5 here. The most wins in the history of the NFL.
The Bears.
Bears are number 2, 793.
Oh, the Packers passed them?
They did 799. They passed them 2 years ago, I think.
Okay.
Who's number 3 on wins all time?
I want to say Pittsburgh, but
Pittsburgh is number 4
Okay.
wins all time at 671.
not the Giants.
It is the Giants.
Oh, it is the
Giants
Giants?
are the third at 721 wins. Can you get the top 5 here?
Top 5.
I don't know if you're gonna get this one. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm trying to think back to the old teams because it's got to be somebody for that many wins.
It's a team that dominated
The
for a
Colts?
decade.
For a decade, not the Colts. Not Cleveland then.
It is not Cleveland,
Miami.
not Miami. Miami's nowhere near the top here.
Yeah, because they were good for under John Shula. I'm surprised it's not the Colts, but they haven't been around that long. I said the Steelers.
Won
Right?
2 Super Bowls with 2 separate quarterbacks in a 4-year span.
Washington?
It is Washington at 629.
Wow.
Well done. All right.
Because Washington was the Eagles for a while. In World War II, they actually
No,
merged
that was
with
the Steelers and
Philadelphia.
the Eagles. It wasn't Washington.
Oh, yeah. You're right. So how did they count? You said the Steelers.
Yes.
So how did they get on? How did they
I don't know
divide those
because
up?
Eagles are 6, so I'm assuming they just give credit to both of them.
Okay.
I honestly don't know the
I
answer
don't
to
know.
that. And I'm not going back to look. Okay, let's see if you can do playoffs now. Highest playoff winning percentage of all time.
I know Bart Starr has it.
Bart Starr has it for player. He's 9-1. Nobody's ever going to touch that. We've had that conversation.
Yes, we have.
Drop it.
No.
Team. Highest team playoff winning. Remember, percentage.
Percentage.
Percentage. It surprised me at this. I'm going to tell you, I thought it would be a team that wasn't in the playoffs a lot would have to be this, but that's not necessarily the case here.
It's a team that wasn't in the playoffs a lot.
No, that's what I thought.
Oh, okay.
That was my thought
No, 'cause
process. But it's not necessarily the case here.
I'm going New England, San Francisco.
Okay? You just named the top 2.
Okay.
So which one's one?
San Francisco.
No, San
New
Francisco's
England.
number 2. New England's
England.
number 1 with a 627 winning percentage. 49ers 613.
Wow.
Which was crazy to me. But New England makes sense because when they were bad, they were real bad. They never
Yeah.
made the playoffs. And San Francisco's just been dominant in the playoffs for how long
Since
now?
the 80s.
All right. Can you round out the top 5? Who's number 3?
Giants.
Nope.
Dallas.
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh is number 5.
Green Bay.
Green Bay's number 3 with a 587 win percentage. Steelers 563.
That's holding up because they haven't been good recently in the playoffs at all.
They've been keeping 500. They win 1, lose 1.
Whatever. Who am I missing?
Number 4.
I'm missing number 4.
Missing number 4. 567 win percentage.
Buffalo.
It's a really good guess, though.
Kansas City.
Kansas City's 10.
Okay.
Cowboys were 8. You guessed them, by the way.
Buffalo was a good guess.
Okay, think of my guess from the previous.
Baltimore.
It is Baltimore Ravens 567 because they've been not around for a long
Right.
time and they've been dominant in the
They've been very
playoffs.
good.
All right, last guess, and then we're gonna move on because
All right.
I like this game. Most playoff wins in the history of a franchise. Can you get the top 5?
Oh God. In fact, I get one I'm happy with. Packers.
Packers are 3 with 37 playoff wins. This is close. Technically, they're tied for second.
Okay. San Francisco.
San Francisco's number 1 with 38.
New England.
New England's tied for second with 37 with the Packers. Who's 4?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh is tied for 4th with 36.
Dallas.
Dallas is, okay, that was much easier for you. Dallas also has 36. Next in line is the Rams with 26 playoff wins, 10 behind, and then it just goes down from there.
Wow. Okay.
Least amount of playoff wins?
Least amount.
Can you name
Detroit.
No.
Really?
No, Detroit is...
Well, they
Where's
won in the
Detroit?
50s, I guess.
I can't even find the line.
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville is second to last. They have 8.
Carolina.
Not Carolina. Nope, they have 9.
Tampa.
Tampa has 12.
I know New Orleans has got to be above that now. Arizona.
It is not Arizona. Actually, you know what? This isn't telling me this. Hold on. Now I gotta go back. It didn't give me the list. It cut off my list.
Well,
Let's see. Here we go. Hold on. I got it. Lost. That's not what I wanted. 1.
okay. Well, I'm
Okay.
gonna.
It's
You got
Houston Texans.
Oh, okay. All right.
I found the list.
The
It's
other
Houston
new
Texans.
team.
That's not as fun when the website all of a sudden
Yeah.
crashes on you.
Okay.
I
I'm
did
gonna
have
ask
it
you.
pulled up.
I'm gonna ask you something.
Okay.
Was listening to local radio a week or so ago, and they were ranking the greatest stadiums, professional stadiums in the country.
Okay.
Baseball, football, basketball are even included for the arenas. Why are you continuing to kill?
I forgot.
Oh, I love that. Can you
Take
name?
this away from me. I don't.
What?
Put it down here.
Drink it.
Ah.
Drink it again. You're probably giving yourself typhus or something.
Typhus? Of
Whatever.
all the diseases you think of, typhus?
Why not? Okay. Give me the top 5, as long as we're on a top 5 list,
All right.
stadiums in America.
Well, Lambeau's number 1.
Lambeau's number 1.
Wrigley?
Wrigley is number 8.
Busch Stadium in St. Louis?
Busch Stadium is number 4. Excuse
Okay.
me.
PNC always pops up on these
Number
lists.
2.
Fenway?
Number 7.
Camden Yards?
Camden Yards is number 3.
Heinz Field or whatever it's called now where the Steelers play?
No, it's much farther down. It's
Target Field?
Target is number 10. It's a newer baseball stadium.
It's a baseball
It
stadium.
is a baseball stadium. I'll give you that.
It's not Miami, is it?
No. Oh, God. Miami is way down the list. That's a terrible stadium.
Well, I've heard it's a nice stadium. It's just nobody's ever there.
Nobody ever goes.
I don't know. You gotta give me a better guess than that.
West Coast.
West Coast, newer stadium? Like how new? Because the Giants is newer, but that's not.
That's it.
It's the Giants?
Yep.
All right.
Oracle Park. Which
Did you send me this list?
I did. I may have sent it to you a
I
second
want to see
ago.
this list. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up.
Number 6 is Lumen Field, where the Seahawks play. Number 9 is the Cassius Center, which is where the Miami Heat play. I've never been to that stadium, so I don't know.
Is this the list? I'm gonna pop up. on the
American
screen.
Family Field, by the way.
Hold on, I want to make sure I have the right list. I'm popping on the screen. Is this correct?
Yes.
Okay.
American Family Field is number 11.
Well, it's because people are stupid.
Great food. I was even disappointed in the food the last time I was there.
Well, they changed Secret Stadium sauce, so there's no point to even go there anymore.
Something was-
Sidelines are terrible because that stupid roof they put on. The food's not as good as it used to be. People like it because of the atmosphere. It's a great atmosphere.
You
Outstanding.
tailgate, but some of the best tailgating in all sports is
Yeah.
that.
Probably, I mean, it's that and Lambeau. I mean, Lambeau is actually a great stadium,
It is.
and it's a great atmosphere.
peop-
There's nothing bad about Lambeau.
No. And people complain about the metal benches and whatever. You don't have, if you've got season tickets, which everybody does, go and buy one of the things and they'll put a
Well,
seat
you can rent
down
them
there.
at the game.
Yeah, just
I mean, they're like
attach it.
$2.
Right.
You just rent one and sit on it, which I do. Don't get me wrong, I do. I don't like sitting on them either.
Well, you got to have some support with your back.
Right.
So I would do that. But I mean, Lambeau, there is not a bad seat in the stadium.
No.
You've got the entire history since 1957.
Right. Not even the new high ones are bad seats.
No. I mean, it is a gorgeous field.
Yes. It's
Plus
definitely number one. I've never been to PNC or Camden Yards, but I've heard they're good.
Yes.
Looking at this list, you know what this tells me?
It's baseball centric.
That people like outdoor stadiums better.
Yeah.
Because there's not an indoor arena until 9, which is where the Heat play.
And that's
And then
ridiculous. I'm surprised.
American Family Field's half and half.
I'm surprised Target's on there because in Minnesota, you're not guaranteed you're going to see a game like in the
Target
spring.
Stadium's beautiful.
I know it is.
It's the best place to watch a game.
I've never
Except
seen.
Wrigley.
I've never seen a game there.
Let's see. Progressive Field's outdoor. Great American Ballpark is outdoor.
Citizens.
Citizen Bank is outdoor. Coors Field's outdoor. Steelers Stadium, whatever it's called now. It's Heinz Field to me always.
Right.
That's outdoor.
Lucas is inside.
And Lucas. So you're down to 17. So besides basketball, which is all out, which is all indoor,
Right.
you got to get all the way down to 17 to find a stadium that ranks on this list as an indoor field. I think that tells you things need to be played outside more.
Coors should be higher. That's a great stadium.
Coors is 15. That is a great stadium, but it's older now, though. You have to remember, it was state-of-the-art 30 years ago.
It's still a cool place to watch a game.
It is, but there's...
Nationals Park is good.
Where's Fenway?
Fenway's
They rank
number.
Fenway higher than Wrigley?
Both
East
of
Coast
them.
bias.
Both of those should have been in the top 5.
East Coast bias. And
Yeah.
again, that is more for the atmosphere. Like, I'm fully willing to admit Wrigley's a dump. So is Fenway.
Not anymore.
But it's great. I haven't been there since the renovations. I was there when it still leaked in the locker rooms.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I'm trying to see where else. So you have Lucas Oil. Where's the next indoor stadium on here? Is Chase Field where Arizona plays indoor?
That's out.
I think that's an indoor stadium.
I think that's outdoor.
Okay, I could be
Or
wrong.
retractable.
And then you get to AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys play.
Barry's house.
And then Mercedes-Benz is
And then-
indoor. And now
right.
you're starting to see some more indoor arenas here.
Dodger Stadium should be much higher. That's another
How is
one of
Dodger
the.
Stadium 28
I don't know.
on this list?
That's a top 10 stadium of all time. I just thought it was an interesting list. Obviously,
Trying to
it
see
does.
where else should be up here. Yankee Stadium is 37 on this
That's
list?
New Yankee. New Yankee.
Still.
Apparently, well, I think Yankee is that low because it's so unaffordable.
Well, that's fair. Arrowhead is 38th. That surprises me it's that low.
It doesn't surprise me. It needs a renovation.
Yeah, well, that keeps getting denied. How is Everbank Stadium, where the Jaguars played, even ranked on here? I think it's in the top 50.
They should be down by 90.
Bill Stadium's 51. They're building a new one, right? That just got
Correct.
approved?
It's under construction right now.
Is it?
Yes.
Pfizer is on here, where the Bucks play.
That's a good stadium. It's
a very
beautiful.
good stadium.
I think it should be higher.
U.S. Bank's ouch. U.S. Bank Stadium, where the Vikings played, is ranked 58th.
I'm surprised.
They just built that thing.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Soldier Field's way down on the list.
Yeah, they're going to build something new there, too.
I still think that may end up out in Arlington Heights as well.
Well, did you hear that's back on now?
The Arlington Heights, yeah, I did.
Yeah, they're all of a sudden talking Arlington Heights again. Well,
Well,
because Chicago's never going to be able to get $3.5 billion for a stadium.
It's now up to 4.5.
Is it really?
Yeah, for some of the things they want to do.
I still think Arlington, I like what they're trying to say they're going to do, but what they do to the traffic down there already, you're going to build it next door and then tear that down. You're going to have to shut down central Chicago for 3 years.
On the lakefront there, it'll be a disaster. It's going to be awful.
And what they're trying to build too with the glass and stuff, with how windy it is over there, it's just going to be loud because of the wind all the time. I don't know how you're going to. I don't think the Bears should play indoors. I don't.
I don't either. I don't
And
think the Vikings should play indoors.
Vikings have done it
For a long
enough
time.
generations where, to me, that's what I think of when I think of the Vikings. When I think Vikings and Lions, I think indoor stadium.
You do. I don't.
Right, which is fair. But the Bears, like the Packers, are going to be the last outdoor stadium. The Packers and Steelers will be the last outdoor
Buffalo.
stadiums in the NFL.
Buffalo.
And Buffalo. That's true, because theirs is going to be outdoor.
Yeah, and probably New England. Although I could see them building a
I can see
dome
them
at some
building a
point.
dome
I could too.
to host a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
100%. Same with the Jets-Giants stadium. I think the next stadium they build over there is a dome.
I think so too. I mean, they're multi-purpose.
The Steelers, I couldn't see build one. The Buffalo Bills, you're right. They're building an outdoor one. People would revolt in Buffalo if they built an indoor
Yes.
stadium.
By the way, little trivia for you. What was planned to be the first indoor stadium?
I don't know.
The number one on the list, Lambeau.
Lambeau is going to be an indoor stadium?
Curly Lambeau had plans to put a roof over the stadium. It would have been just like a cover over it. It wouldn't have been a true indoor stadium that we know now. But somehow he wanted to put like a giant, I don't know if it was a giant tarp or a giant tent over it so they could play the game. But yeah, he had plans back in the late 30s and 40s.
Really?
To try to cover Lambeau.
Well, that just proves God's watching over the Packers.
Yes,
Didn't
they
allow
were.
that to happen. Huh. This list is interesting, though. I love how the last place is Commanders Field.
Which is a dump.
It's about to be torn down. And it's behind the Coliseum, which is crazy. Also about to be torn down.
What Coliseum?
And then, wait, is this?
LA Coliseum?
Yeah. No. The Oakland Coliseum.
Oh, yeah.
What's Allegiant Stadium? That's not where the Raiders play, is it? I can't see the logo.
I lost it. I don't know. Blow it up.
Allegiant Stadium. I want to make sure I'm talking about the right place. Yeah, that's where the Raiders play. So this brand new stadium, Allegiant Stadium, is third to last on the list.
What? That makes no sense.
I don't know about this list. Levi Stadium's also way down there. SoFi's 85th on the list here, which is also a brand new stadium. I haven't been there. Maybe they're actually that bad, but these are brand new stadiums.
Yeah. I mean, it looked beautiful.
There's got to be more to it than that. But Lambeau on best stadium list always wins.
Because it's a great place. And plus, they've got the Hall of Fame. It's all the amenities around Lambeau you can go and see.
For such a small town, but that's just it. It's a town built around the Packers.
Correct. What have you always said? Without the Packers, Green Bay is Dubuque.
Right. It's nothing.
It's not a slam on Dubuque, but 100,000,
right,
150,000 people.
And for any of you, by the way, who hear people from Wisconsin say up north, it is north of Green Bay. Counts as up north. That's how I judge it.
Yeah.
Everybody judges. Some people say north of the Dells. Some people from Chicago just think it's Lake Geneva, and they're dumb.
Wisconsin is the only state you hear that term too.
Apparently, you do in Michigan too.
Up north?
They don't call it that, but they just call it Northern Michigan. They say, we're going up to Northern Michigan.
It's a UP.
No, they don't. They actually so if you look at Michigan, I just learned this.
It's a mitten.
People only live on the bottom third of Michigan.
Yes.
Everything else is just like Wisconsin. People only live on the bottom third of Wisconsin. Everything else is just Northern Territory.
Could you imagine the mosquitoes in the North Woods this year with all the rain?
No. Oof. Nope. Glad I'm going south instead of going north this summer.
Absolutely.
Although it's going to be like 105 where I'm going. Not excited for that. One more question before the end of this show. I wanted to ask you.
Yes, sir.
Mike Trout just announced for the second year in a row he is going to be out for the season, this time with a meniscus injury. I wanted to ask you, does he have the biggest waste of a career?
I think in his mind, he really regrets not going someplace else when he's had the chance.
Because think about it. Let's think about some other players here that have great careers on terrible teams.
Look at a guy like Archie Manning. Probably would have been a Hall of Famer on almost any other team.
Yep. The Saints definitely cost him the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be re-looked at some point and put him on the Hall of Fame after Eli goes in.
Well, they do it then just because they'd want the father and sons in there, which...
Same reason Clay Matthews. Clay Matthews is a Hall of Famer, but he's going to get help getting into the Hall of Fame.
Because of Bruce.
Because of Bruce and his dad.
His dad.
But let's look at these here. I put a little bit of a list together.
Okay.
And I sent it to you. You have it in front of you. So we have Mike Trout.
Yes.
And again, this is the best players who have wasted their careers on bad teams. Mike Trout, Felix Hernandez, who can definitely give Mike Trout a run for his money. Only player to win a Cy Young with a losing record.
He was so dominant up in Seattle, and they just never gave him a team.
Not once. Joey Votto.
Yeah.
Great player. Always played for the Reds.
Right.
Terrible teams. You brought up a couple of these here, but Arch Manning, Joe Thomas is another one.
Joe Thomas.
Greatest left tackle of all time. Never had a winning franchise.
He was in Cleveland for all those years.
Barry Sanders.
He got to the playoffs a couple times, but never did anything. Calvin Johnson would be on the same
Calvin
team.
Johnson is also on my list
Yeah.
here. Would have been the same team. They were decades apart.
I'm talking about the Lions.
Yes, but also with the Lions. Larry Fitzgerald is another one. He had one good team with an overrated quarterback, made it to a Super Bowl.
You couldn't leave it alone.
I never can. I got to take the cheap shots. J.J. Watt is another one I have on my list.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else you can think of? Because I know when I sent you this, you went, oh, I got a couple of names.
Well, I mean, there are guys like Ernie Banks that never got to a playoff.
Ernie Banks was not on a bad team.
They never got to the playoffs.
Ernie Banks was not on a bad team.
They never got to the playoffs.
Okay, a black cat cost him that.
And the GOAT, the Billy Goat.
And the Billy Goat.
I
How
mean-
can you say Ernie Banks wasted his career on a bad team?
Because they never got to the playoffs.
I knew you were going to bring up Ernie Banks.
Ernie Banks, Billy Williams, Ron Santo. You can put that whole team on the
Fergie
list.
Jenkins.
Yeah.
You can't have a whole team of Hall of Fame players and say, oh, they all wasted their careers on a bad team. They wouldn't be Hall of Fame players, all of them,
They
if they're on
never
a bad team.
Got to a
You just
playoff.
named 5 Hall of Famers on one
Yeah.
team.
Did they get to the playoffs?
Billy Williams, Ernie Banks, Ron Santo, Fergie Jenkins.
Yeah.
Maybe you only named 4. But either way,
They never got to the
there's another
playoffs.
Hall of Famer on that team. Who am I missing?
What did you say?
Billy Williams,
Ernie
Ernie
Banks.
Banks, Ron Santo, Fergie Jenkins.
Yeah, there's 4 on that team.
There's a 5th Hall of Famer on that team.
I don't think so.
Was it only 4?
I think so.
I always thought it was 5. But either way, that's 4 Hall of Famers on one team. That's not a bad team. And they had a winning record most
But
of the
they
time they
never
played.
went to the playoffs.
Well, the playoffs isn't what it is today. You got to remember,
I know.
won. You had the NL pennant, and then you had the World Series. That was it.
Well, wait a minute. In '69 there was the division playoffs,
Okay,
and they didn't get there.
Black Cat. Not
True.
their fault.
Okay.
Black
Whatever.
Cat in August.
Well, and I will say this. It would have been interesting to see because that was before free agency. It was 5-6 years before free agency came
It was.
along.
Who knows if they would have kept the players? But you can't say that Ernie Banks wasted his career on a bad team. It's a team that he had a winning record throughout his career.
They never got to the playoffs.
It does. They still not. I'm putting it in line with Felix Hernandez, who won a Cy Young on a losing
Yes.
team because of how bad his team is. Mike Trout, who has
Wait a
never
minute.
been
Wait a
to the
minute. Wait a minute.
playoffs.
Ernie Banks is the only player in baseball history to win an MVP on a losing team.
Yeah, okay.
All right. I think I proved my point.
It was not. You can't have 4 Hall of Famers on a team and have it be a bad team.
You can if they never get to the promised land and play in the playoffs.
No, the '60s Cubs were not a bad team. They weren't. You
They
can't have.
weren't.
Doesn't count. Ernie Banks doesn't count. He did not waste his career.
You're sounding like me because I'm always the one defending these old teams.
Listen, he did not waste his career on a bad team. He didn't. He didn't
He
make it to
nev-
the World Series
He never got to the playoffs.
because of a black cat.
Nobody buys that argument.
I do. And that's all that matters for this argument.
Okay.
Because this is my opinion.
Anybody
you can't
else?
have 4 Hall of Famers on a team.
I can if they never made it to the playoffs.
4 Hall of Famers on a team. Not a bad team.
Weren't a bad team, but never were good enough to get over the hump.
They're the team that should have been there, which means it was a good team.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. If a dog eats a tree, he'll poop a canoe.
Not a bad team. No. Ernie Banks doesn't count. Who else you got? I name mine
Oh,
that I have qualified for this list.
I will go. Some people actually put Cal Ripken Jr. on a list like that because he didn't really have teams around him at that time.
Okay. Is Cal Ripken the most overrated Hall of Famer in baseball? I've heard people say that.
Because they think he was just about that longevity record. And
He
he
was a pretty good player,
was
wasn't he?
a very good player. He was an outstanding
Didn't he
player.
have like a 300 batting average or something?
He was close. He was close. I always get in the argument with people because I say Robin Yount was the first big shortstop, and most people give Cal Ripken that distinction. They were both bigger guys.
Yount came first, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, then it's
Yeah,
Yount.
by a decade. Yeah, I like your list.
Here's one on
Archie,
the list I didn't hear.
which one?
I didn't know if you'd bring up or not. Ted Williams. I never thought about this before.
Ted Williams would certainly be on this list. Great player. One of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
And never got to the playoffs. But there again,
Ted Williams never made it to the playoffs?
no, you had to win
You had to win
The
the division.
entire
Or
pennant.
Yeah.
the entire American League.
Because they didn't have an American League championship then, did they?
No, because there were no divisions. There was just 12 teams stacked.
So
You win,
highest record.
and that was it. It was always the Yankees
Really?
a lot of the time.
But was he on bad teams though? Like, does he have a career losing record?
I don't know what the record of the Red Sox was, but they were not good all the time.
Really?
Yeah, they weren't great. They had Dom DiMaggio in center field instead of.
Is this? I don't know if you're. I'm too gullible for this stuff, so
No,
I don't know if you're joking or not.
I'm not joking. Joe DiMaggio was in the Yankee center field. Dom DiMaggio, his brother, was with the Red Sox, and of course never got the attention because the Red Sox weren't that good then. They were suffering through the curse of the Bambino.
All right, so out of our list, does the argument stand that Mike Trout is the biggest wasted career on a bad team?
I'd put him above everybody else, other than maybe King Felix.
I was going to say, I think Felix Hernandez.
They're 1 and 1A.
I would give you that. Because, granted, Felix Hernandez is a pitcher, but he was the most dominating pitcher in Major League Baseball for almost a decade.
They didn't call him King Felix for nothing.
Yeah, and nobody ever knew about him because they were just terrible teams. You never saw him play on TV. You never saw him in the playoffs. He never got that chance. I don't even know if he ever went to the playoffs once. I don't think he did.
I don't think so, because by that time, Randy Johnson was gone. Ken Griffey Jr. was gone.
Well, he was way
gone. So, I mean, they didn't have the teams that they did in the early 90s.
I don't think Barry Sanders, because he made the playoffs. Calvin Johnson could be in that conversation. But he retired before that team started to get good.
He could have stuck around.
And that team was bad because of the way rookie contracts were structured at that time.
Correct.
Because the Lions got screwed because they were right before that rookie contract came in.
Wait a minute. They got screwed by their own GM who drafted wide receivers 4 years in a row.
But forget that. You had to pay Matthew Stafford without knowing what he was, this massive contract, one of the highest in the NFL
He was one of the last people to get that.
He was second to last. Sam Bradford was the last. And you had to pay Calvin Johnson this massive contract for being a high pick. And you had to, don't forget, Ndamukong Suh was also in that. And so you had a majority of your team on 3 players not getting that rookie contract. Can you imagine what the Lions could have done if they would have had that cap space, not having to pay these rookies?
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
That's why people tried to trade the top picks all the time, because I don't want to pay this.
Right, now they've got the salary cap for rookies, which I agree with completely.
Yeah.
Veterans should get those big contracts, not rookies.
I agree. You have to prove what you can do in there. Joe Thomas never saw the playoffs.
And Joe Thomas is in the conversation for the greatest left tackles of all time. Yeah. He's in that conversation.
Ernie Banks is not in this conversation at all. 4 Hall of Famers on that team. You shut your mouth. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Never got to the playoffs.
I don't have a lot as a Cubs fan. I have 1 World Series. I have the 84 Cubs that also could be in that category.
89 Cubs.
And
2006 or 4 Cubs?
It was 3.
Okay.
Don't you bring up the 2003 Cubs with me.
Okay.
How dare you? You know what's funny? I always
said
it's
not Bartman's fault.
This won't. No, it definitely wasn't Bartman's fault. It was Alou and it was Dusty Baker's fault. It still stings.
Yeah.
Like, we won a World Series. Won one in 2016. I have the banner hanging up next to me. And it still stings.
Yes. That was the greatest what should have been, because
it ruined Mark Pryor's career too.
Yes, it did. And once it got to Game 7, you knew they were losing. There was no way they were going to win that game.
Yeah. Kerry Wood hit a 3-run home run.
I know they had the lead,
but everybody knew it was over.
It was over.
Yeah, it was done. That one still stings. So I don't know if Mike Trout's the biggest, because you do have Joe Thomas, but for an impact, and you have Felix Hernandez. But I think it is between those two. But you let us know what you think in the comments below, and while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. You and I have had a great show.
We have.
But as you all know, you cannot have a conversation with your father without your dad getting the last word. So it is all you.
Speaking of things that still hurt, the Olympics have disappointed me on so many levels, but what I talked about last week with the Last Supper and the drag queens was bad enough. To let biological males in a combat sport is going just way beyond the line. How stupid are these people? You cannot have the guy was ruled ineligible by other organizations, and yet the IOC, in their infinite insanity and stupidity, let him box. The woman from Italy who had worked her life to get to the Olympics was in there for 46 seconds, stopped, and said, "I've never been hit like this before." Well, no, because it's a guy abusing a woman. We have got to get back to the reality here, folks. Men are bigger, they're stronger. It's not anti-woman to want to have them have Title IX. And now Title IX has been eviscerated, so now men and boys have every right to shower with young women. They don't have to have a special stall. They just get to be in there. Is it going to take a woman being killed either in the ring or in a locker room for sanity to return to this? Keep men out of women's sports once and for all. It's got to stop now. Sorry.
It's quite the rant. Thank you. As always, this has been Sports Talk with Dad. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.